Ciao.
Ciao, Luca.
Hi, Robin. How are you doing?
Very good.
Finally we meet.
Finally.
I mean, after the first dialogue we did on Instagram, now we are a reality in Pedro Ali. Next time we'll be in the pub. We promise. Eh?
We promise.
So we miss a beer now, but it's a lack. But well, step after step, we will reach reality finally.
Absolutely. It's good to see you live.
I'm so happy. So happy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm very happy to be here in
Well, and here it's amazing, long table. I mean, the first discussion was half of the table. No, it was even smaller. No?
It was a smaller. I mean,
the
beginning of the
of the story. Well, now we move directly to offices and to a completely different way of using the table. I mean,
yes.
But let's start as usual in myself to introduce yourself, because I think it's important to know the author behind the table, let's say, or behind the good design. So. First of all, you are double nationality, Italian, well, Genovese and English.
Yes.
You was born in Genova and then Scuola Politecnica di Design. Milano, as usual, for every designer, everybody moved from elsewhere to the center, to Milan. And, well, 5 years with Antonio Citterio, which is something. Antonio
good
is
experience.
Yeah, it's a good experience. It's always a place to have the early experience, no?
It's a good beginning, I think.
Yeah,
it's a good
solid.
It wasn't the beginning, the real beginning, but it came after a while, which is good, I think. You know, first to craft some tools at the beginning and then approach an office with a personality and a good structure.
Well,
I think
it's well structured, so it's good to start. Then Metrica for longer time.
For a few years.
For a few years, and then finally.
Solo. It's like when
Robin Rizzini alone. I mean,
it's like when
Rising Star
bands
alone.
split. You know, I go solo. You know.
Yeah.
Exactly
So I mean, your experience as a designer is larger. You have been playing with a lot of, let's say, furnitures and materials. But let's say table is your deep love. The real love is table.
Yeah, table is. I don't know. For some reasons, I fail, you know, quite often, and I stumble quite often in this subject of tables. I like tables because I think they are, for some reasons, the closest thing to architecture in a way.
Oh, that's interesting
so
to know.
This trilytic structure is always very, for me,
sure.
fascinating in a way.
Yeah.
And I am quite obsessed with the idea of stability, with the idea of, let's say, try to reduce as much as possible the visual presence of, you know, the various elements.
Which is a kind of paradox, because table is so present. I mean, if we could fly on the table, then we see table everywhere. But then the section is getting lighter and lighter and lighter, thinner and thinner and thinner.
Lighter and lighter. I think we are in the position to decide what language to use for a table. You know, we can, you know, with the materials we have at our disposal today, we can decide whether to be very light or to be massive in terms of sections. I'd rather go very slim and essential, but you know, it's a choice, design choice. And I think is a good exercise to try to design tables for, I would say, a wide range of applications, which is always a good exercise and a challenge in a way. A design challenge, especially because, you know, some designs are good for residential use, some other are good for contract, and some other designs are good for office. And in this case, we try to accomplish this difficult task of doing something that, you know, was able to speak different languages, you know, with the same product.
But you're right, even though world is changing, so sometimes houses became offices in the last 8 months, it's like that. Yeah. And the offices are changing a lot as well.
I think that you know, the pandemic, in a way, it's been a good lesson for all of us from different point of views and different perspectives. I think that it forces us, and it forced us to understand a little bit better where we live, and you know something about it because you wrote about it. And I think the reality of being one's own house in a way, and the way we read, you know, the environment is very. I think it's crucial, you know, these days, and also the way furniture works and functions in a house.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, probably in the last 9 months, most of people became so much more aware about furnitures, the way we use them, the domestic or any place you position them in terms of being slowed down because of time and space has been reduced in terms of usage. We have been forced to understand more what we have in front of us.
Yeah, well, I think we were forced to live in our house, for a large quantity of time. We were used to work every day for many hours and go back in the evening, and if you have kids, you have kids. If you're single, whatever. But you spend an X amount of time, a limited amount of time in your house, except on the weekends, perhaps, if you don't leave for some place.
Yeah.
In these months, we had to question, I think, the idea of interior design and the idea of how, houses are made and how we furnish them, and the role of the single pieces. And I think one of the items that were, I think, put into discussion at some point is the table.
And, absolutely. Well, table is such a universal tool. It's you can use it for everything. It can also become a bed as well.
Absolutely.
I once have slept on a table in a friend's home, but it's and also I think that for design is a real challenge because we have tables in the history of mankind from the day one. Yeah. Because we need it, and so. What does it mean for a designer to work on something which is in our memories since ever? So, which is the challenge for you? Every time you question this argument.
I don't know. I don't believe in the idea of, or in the question, why do we need another table or why do we need another chair?
This was not
because I was thinking every time you start to design is always.
I'm very curious about the way you think about thinking to the table.
I don't know. I don't really approach it in such a heavy way, to be honest. I know it's
sorry.
Yeah, no, you're sorry. Very good at once, but no, I'm in that perspective. I'm lighter, So I'm just don't think in that terms. I think in the terms of trying to get better in what I do and what I design, and especially try to improve existing design, which is probably the central role of an industrial designer, which
absolutely.
I think it doesn't. I don't think the designer as an inventor, so to speak. I think is about studying very well what's in the world and what is used and furniture, and do very well your own and try to improve it. Perhaps, if you can, if it's possible, innovating a little bit.
So, which is the challenge in Toa? Because this is the second phase.
The challenge, well, when we met the last time, we were just releasing the residential version of Toa.
Which is the size of the residential?
Many sizes, from 70 to I think 120 to by 3 meters, I guess 2 meters and 60. And it's quite big, even in residential terms, and we were working already on the office version. The office version was supposed to be launched in June, but of course they already cancelled. All possible office fairs for the year. But the project was ready, and this is exactly what we were looking forward to achieve. So designing a platform that was able to respond to different needs, from residential to contract to office. And it came out a very specific product for the office because, as you can see, we are able to meet the various demands of the contemporary office, from executive office, traditional desking, and this large conference tables, which are possible if you put together 2 different tables, with a central leg as a bridge. Potentially, you could do more.
Sure.
And the dimensions are quite insane because you can have a width of 130 centimeters by over 6 meters for this version. But the ranges of dimensions are from 70 to 130 in terms of width, and then up to 6 meters and more. So,
but then in the meantime, when you move there, you see such a light section which
Well, first of all, I think that the first thing you notice, except that, if lightness is one thing, but I think is the structural strength of this table, which is really impressive, because it doesn't move. If you try to shake this table, it's impossible. And this is, a 6 meters by 130 table, so it's really strong. I think one of the most fascinating thing about this table is the lightness, and at the same time the strength of this, of the structure, and the idea that it's made out of aluminum. It's great. I think the idea of using thin tops like these in 10 millimeters, it's great. And for the office environment, the office version, we developed and studied a completely new version of the table, because we had to equip this table with wire management, cable management. So this is one version of the wire management, as you can see. You can. It's let's say one of the two versions where you can work with pieces of top that you can move or cut on the top.
The cable.
And there is also a third version which is very linked and very close to the American market, compliant to the American market. Sure. Which is very important. Is one of the. So let's say that we are covering a very wide range of dimensions and 3 options to work with wire management and cable management, which I think is a good result. And you can decide whether to have one or none at all, or decide with 3. In terms of finishes as well, it's this scenario is very promising in terms of number of finishes and flexibility of finishes. Also in terms of color and the structure.
By the way, I love this.
I love this too, actually.
I love also this red one, because we have this one.
Yeah.
So it's the best way for you to explain how the lower part of the table is working. Yeah. The legs are fantastic.
Thank you.
Don't use it against me, but
no.
Please.
I'm usually a nice guy, usually. Not always, but.
Because the section, can be put on the wall as a piece of art, by the way. Can you?
Thanks. Well, this is, to begin with, is an aluminum casting, which is one of the specialties of Pedro Ali as a company, and aluminum is a material that always have fascinated me, especially in castings, but also profiling and assembly of pieces. And I like this very much because of its lightness, because of the strength, and because it has a very specific language. I think every material has its own language. Steel has its language, wood coherent
to the nature of
and that goes back to the roots. And casting has its own language, and I think that with this leg we achieved something quite nice in a way, but very, very functional in terms of structure. So to give you an idea, the main features of this leg is, one, it's purely designish in a way that this platform here is, as you were saying before, historically linked to the trilatic structure. So I have this is the column, and I go over it, with a
Doric.
Exactly, a bit Stonehenge in a way. So we have this platform, which is more a way of welcoming a top in a safe way.
Which is what we see here.
Because also psychologically, visually, if the tabletop goes on something that is small, it doesn't give you the idea of stability.
Sure.
This platform gives the idea of sitting on something important. Exactly. And this cut here is to let the profiles, which are connected to the tabletop, to run through the leg and connect each leg of the structure.
What we see here below,
Yes. And this is designed this way because we have connecting profiles from side to side to create the bridge leg.
And to improve the stability of the
improve the stability and to close the structure.
It's basic science construction of universe.
Very basic, very basic. And this is one of the design features I like the most about this leg is the fact that it starts with a very narrow radius
Yeah.
here, and it's very flat as the side of the table,
Yeah.
side of the tops.
Yeah.
And then as you digress towards the bottom of the table, it becomes the leg.
Circular.
It becomes more rounded,
Oh, yeah.
and it's nice. If you look at this leg in terms of how the light,
Well, the light
impacts,
goes, yeah.
and the resulting effect you have that it looks really very light.
Which is a kind of oriental obsession from the square to the circle, no?
Yes. Yes.
Which I love it because it's like a traditional column is large and going thinner, so it plays with the opposite of force of gravity, no?
Yes,
So it's a kind of paradox which became a beautiful form.
And then you have the joints in Japan, which are extremely fantastic.
Sure.
I think it is an obsession. But I mean, it took a lot of time to do this. I know it sounds really, dramatic. I understand, but we did many different versions of this and exchanging files because we were already in sort of a dangerous situation, to communicate. But we. It's really been designed down to the millimeters.
You was talking about the work with the Pedro Ali lab, with the people of Pedro Ali, which was, you say, it is one of the speciality of Pedro Ali. And I would like to ask to talk about your relationship with Pedro Ali in doing this table, because I mean it's. As far as I know, it's the first things we do together. No?
It's the first thing.
Yeah?
Yes, we came into contact a few times.
Yeah.
I think it started the first time was 10 years ago, and I've always had an interest in this company, in Pedro Ali, for many reasons. I was looking at a company that was growing very quickly,
with a vision,
but steadily. With a vision. I kind of liked the idea that it was sort of a sidekick to the big players, and I found this rebellious in a way.
Well,
and I was kind
rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly. And I was really attracted by this, and I was even more attracted when they won the Compasso d'Oro with the chair, designed by Odo Fioravanti.
Yeah, by Odo. Yeah.
And that was the maximum level of rebellion. So I think we tried many ways. I tried in many ways to work on a project.
Yeah.
But I don't know, either the context or the situation.
The time was not ready.
The time was not right. And at some point, I had this table in my hands. It was developed for nothing, for nobody, for me basically, just to build up the archive. And I thought it could have been a good addition to Pedro Ali's portfolio. So I just asked for an appointment, and we talked about a few products, including this one. And Giuseppe liked this very much, as it was, even since the early sketches, and we started from there. And it's been for this table a very good and synergic and nice collaboration, I have to say. I think Pedro Ali Pedro Ali's people are quality people.
Yeah,
and this is
I totally agree with you. And so from the first prototype, let's say we moved to office, and today we are talking about this Toa office, which is amazing, and the Toa Folding screen, which is a kind of apparatus which is needed, let's say, after COVID, but not only for that. I mean, it works on privacy, works on mutual relationship between people.
Yeah, I think the folding screen wasn't part of the original plan.
I can imagine.
And the original plan was to develop a range of tables, from residential to, the extreme side of the spectrum in the office world. And at some point, it happened what it happened, and the whole world went bananas, for screens, and
That's true.
And everybody, and companies were starting to produce plexiglass screens.
Those horrible
I was thinking to my mind, this is insane. This plexiglass in 6 months' time will be in all over the place. In the sea,
Mostly there,
along with masks and everything that we need, but that's the result. So I was thinking that, and I started to talk with Giuseppe about the opportunity to to design and develop a screen, a table screen. And we started to exchange, the first iteration of the screen was in metal, because they have a long-standing tradition in metal working. Yeah. And I was thinking it might have been a good idea to develop something in metal. And then we approached to something completely different. That is a screen which is a metal frame,
we can
but
have a look.
In fabric.
Shall we? I go to.
Yeah.
I think that I can take it. Wow, this is folding, is moving. So we can without.
So the idea, basically, the idea is to have a product which is. It's good for the times that we're living, but it is especially good in perspective, for the future. And the idea was to create something that was flexible enough to be a screen, for residential use, for instance, or become a screen for desking, benching. And for the office
so
as well.
So its flexibility provides you a different way of
in different configurations, because these hinges can rotate 360 degrees, so I can close it and put it exactly the position I want, like this. So I can create two configurations and two workstations just with one screen. One is working this way, I can work this way.
But this generates different kind of options and flexibility.
And the height, the height is just about, the right height.
Which is like a
safety. It's 50 something,
50 something, sure.
And
so you have metal structure.
It's a metal structure. Yeah. Then we have this element, this Lincoln element that was molded in the company, inside, which is one of the potentials of Pedro Ali, honestly. Things
you can play with other materials.
Inside.
The finishing, inside.
It's just a quicker development.
And then you move to textile. This beautiful textile.
And that textile, we have a range of textiles for this.
Which you can clean easily, we can sanitize it, exactly. So it's super easy using.
So I think it's a good product for for the time being, but is especially being designed for real application. After the emergency will be.
Which I think is has a more strongly ecological attitude in terms of use. I mean, it's not something that you will throw away when
that can last for years, if you want to, and easy to store away because you just grab it away.
Easy.
And
you can go.
Good, honest materials, and not plexiglass.
No, which I think it's important to know.
Yeah. And the range of office products is made out of let's say the classic desk.
Yeah, sure. Because the family is growing, so
the family is growing. Yeah. We also have an executive version of this table.
Okay.
And the executive table is made with a special wire management, cable management designed element in metal, and has the top axis on the front, which could be positioned almost anywhere along the top. It is the traditional managerial executive table, but with the lightness of this table.
But I think that this kind of table can really be set everywhere. I mean, it's starting from offices, but since the offices will be everywhere, this means that being universal, being flexible, will manage it to be put everywhere, which I think is one of the goal for every good company, every good designer.
Yeah,
to
also I think,
for every place.
Besides the emergency time, I think that tables are not in discussion.
Yeah, well, that's clear.
And it's on hold, perhaps, but not even that much, in my opinion. So we are, let's say, regathering the strength and regathering some, let's say, more traditional habits, as we proceed throughout the emergency. But tables are not in discussion. I think this is a very solid answer to the demands of the office.
Which is something we need. Because I like the idea that table will be the first place together after all of that.
Yes,
I think it's a beautiful image for the next year.
I very look forward to
rebirth,
see. Exactly.
let's say.
very look forward to see people sitting around a very large Toa table in offices around the world.
And a set of good beer, finally.
Exactly, without masks and enjoying a very old-fashioned meeting.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so thank you so much, and looking forward for the first beer together soon.
Absolutely,
okay.
As soon as possible.
Ciao.
Thanks, Luca.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.